Community Insight podcast, where we share insights from the community experts to stay up to date in Microsoft. I'm Nicholas, I'll be your host today. In this podcast, we'll dive into a theme of the women of Microsoft, the storage innovation. So before we get started, we'll remind you to follow us on social media so you never miss an episode, and it help us reach more amazing people like yourself. Today, we have a special guest called Miri Rodriguez. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hi Nicholas. I'm so excited to be here. I'm Miri Rodriguez, a senior storyteller at Microsoft, also the CEO of Empresa AI, and the author of the book, The Women of Microsoft.
Yeah, so before we get started with the team, what is your role, senior storyteller? Do you just tell story with your colleagues or clients?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So I sit in the US PSI, which stands for Public Sector Industries in the
Yeah,
MCAPS organization, the sales organization. And my role really is to think about customer and sales enablement from a storytelling perspective. So this is where our very niche customers in the government sector, public sector, they are still modernizing. They're still thinking about, going to the cloud, or they're already there, but they're not there fully yet. They haven't adopted
yeah,
100%. And so when we're here on the brand side selling Copilot and selling these new innovations that we have at the
yeah,
Microsoft level, I sit in the middle to basically share that information in a way that it makes sense in a story way. And so we create content that is relevant to them. We create content that aligns to what is happening in their environment and what matters to them, so that they can understand how we are partnering with them, how we're enabling them with these technologies that they may not have available yet or be able to implement just yet because of modernization. So there's
uh,
a bridge that we close when it comes to branding and customers that are nuanced in their own sectors, basically. So I work with our sales team and our marketing team.
yeah.
Internally, we also use stories such as win wires, and we turn them into case studies or use cases to talk even more about the things that we're doing with other customers. So it's what we're doing internally at Microsoft and how customers are doing outside of Microsoft.
Okay, so the stories of how they go from start to the completion of the journey
The
in
journey.
adoption, whether in
They are in the
Microsoft,
journey. Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you're trying to make that into a use case, or
Yeah.
whether it's in text,
It
whether
could be
it's
a use case. It could
anything.
be a case study as well. If we have enough data, a lot of times, especially right now in the era of AI, there's a lot of use cases. We're thinking of agents and implementation of bots technology, AI
Yeah,
technology, especially in the servicing the constituent citizen services, for example. So we're seeing a lot more use cases, and these enable other governments, local governments, to say, hey, if this government, if the city is doing this, we can also do it. If
yeah.
this so we are really trying to tell those stories to let others know that this is something that Microsoft is leading in this space, and that we're partnering with governments everywhere. And so those stories enable that conversation, not just to sell the product, but to say, hey, we already have a use case. Another state, another company, or another city already did this. So
Yeah, because the stories can even attract potential clients as
yes.
well. So that's quite. So what's the typical day look like for you?
Yeah, it's a very not typical day. Every day changes, and it
Yeah,
depends on what comes to us. So, for example, it can be anything from I wake up and there's emails about a particular communication that we wanna share out because there was a new policy that was written at the federal government level that's affecting. So it could be
yeah,
anything that is affecting in terms of current events. If that happens, so then we decide, are we going to be proactive with this message? Are we going to tell a story about that? How do we enable our sales team? So that's always happening on the back end. That's always something that can be, every part of my everyday.
yeah,
I create content as well. So thinking about what we call industry sales kits, conversations with our own internal sales teams that they, what they need from us to enable them to go talk to our customers. And win wires, use cases, storytelling triaging. Our teams go in and they talk about what they've done outside of Microsoft, and then we turn that into stories. So there's everything from that. We're busy with the AI tour right now at
yeah.
Microsoft. So it's a lot of engagements, what we call customer engagements, internal and external, and how we enable that. And it's very fluid because every event is different. We have
Yeah.
marketing led events. We have field-led events. So I step in different ways depending on what the events are going on at the levels that we serve. And my job is to make sure that from a content perspective, we're being proactive or reactive or somewhere in the middle. So there's a lot happening.
Okay, so for each large event, like for example, AI tour one, you
Yeah.
create stories based on the images or pictures or contents based on those.
So
And,
I'm not
and
creating those stories. I am
okay,
enabling. So when our customers meet at these places and they have
yeah,
questions and they want to know, the field comes back, our salespeople come back and they say, "Hey, Miri, we had this feedback from our customer. We had this conversation," and then I step in to say, "Okay, how can we respond to that? How do we tell a story
okay,
that enables them to understand better a product or understand better the roadmap or integration?" So it's a reactive approach in story to the conversations that are being had at the events.
okay, yeah. How did you get like did you jo how did you get to this role as a storyteller? Did you
Yeah.
progress
So
to it? What
no,
made you want to interested in the role? Was
you
it
know,
just a new role?
I didn't know this role existed. At
Yeah.
Microsoft, I was actually invited to apply 6 years ago to a role that said storyteller for engineering. I was actually in the engineering
Okay.
organization when we were
Yeah.
doing our digital transformation journey internally at Microsoft. And so they wanted storytellers, they wanted people that had a comms and marketing background to come in and define these stories, design these stories about our own journey to the cloud internally.
Yeah.
And so I was brought in to talk about that. I was doing data and AI and thinking about stories within engineering. So after that, I found actually a big community in storytelling within Microsoft. There's about 4,000 storytellers worldwide. So there's
Wow.
a lot of people that are dedicated to telling stories. These are different parts of the organization, different verticals. So it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
engineering. It could be finance. It could be obviously marketing and comms. And there's visual storytelling, like video storytelling. So there's so many ways that you can be a storyteller at Microsoft. There's not just one. So you find your role based on the need that the vertical, the organization may have. I've been a storyteller throughout, the last 6 years, 6.5 years, and it's been in different organizations. And like I said, now I'm in the public sector industry. So I didn't go to
Yeah.
school to go to storytelling. But
Okay.
I did have a good background with comms and marketing, and so when these new roles started to open up, I was up to the task, and I was able to apply and get the job.
Yeah. Plus, creating a good story will
Yes.
attract your audience as well. Keep your audience. Like, if you have a good story in like a presentation or anything, you keep your audience attracted to it. So
Yes,
it's amazing as well. So it's one of the
it
key
is.
points of it. So few weeks ago, you announced your new book,
I
The
did.
Woman of Microsoft. So congratulations.
Thank
And I
you.
just want to ask what inspired you to create the book and write the book? Is it because there's lots of amazing women in Microsoft that you want to just tell as a story in the book?
Yeah, so actually, what inspired me was my co-author. So I'm a co-author in the book. Her
Yeah,
name is Isabella, and she is a woman. She's a program manager, a product manager in Poland, and
yeah,
she reached out to me last year in August, and via Teams, and she's like, "Hey, Miri, I know you already wrote a book and you're a published author. I would love to learn because I have this dream of creating this book for the Microsoft's 50th anniversary." So it was her vision. And so we talked about it a little bit. And at the end of the call, she invited me to actually be a co-author, which I was like, "Oh, no, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna write anything." I'm not interested. But she really she was very persuasive. And she's like, "Hey, I really would love for you to be part of this project." So I was like, "Oh, well, okay." I was really busy, but I decided that I would take on the project, and I'm glad I did. When we spoke, and she really told me her vision of really creating this compilation of stories from women from every level of the organization. So entry level all the way to senior CVP level across the organization from all the verticals. So it's 50 women, every level, across the organization and across geographic locations. So we have from every continent, a lot
wow.
of different countries. I thought that was a beautiful, beautiful way to celebrate Microsoft's 50th anniversary that just happened, and we're celebrating that. And I thought it's a beautiful idea around highlighting the efforts and the untold stories of women who have shaped this technology in this company and the culture of the company. And so we actually made an open call. It was my idea to go on LinkedIn and say, "Hey, we have this book. If you're interested."
Yeah,
We made an open call, and we got a lot of people interested, and we basically they shared their stories. So Isabella She had an idea of some of the people that she wanted to have in the book,
Yeah.
but a lot of them were people that raised their hand and said, I would love to tell my story, which was amazing. It's a really great book around what it is to be what I call the she of Microsoft, the women at Microsoft, and what we've gone through,
Okay.
and how we shape the technology and the culture in our own personal transformation stories. So
How do you go about selecting lots of women because there's different parties in different around the world? So
yeah.
do you just put in like a forums, a Microsoft form, and just share it on social media, and everyone
So
just
we just took everyone that signed up from our open call, and
yeah,
then we have this big Excel file. I call it was full of colors because Izzy was like,
yeah,
she's a product manager, so she was very organized, and I was like, these colors are driving me crazy. But she was looking and she was saying, okay, this person came in and they live here. So when we had everybody that came in and said they raised their hand, after that
yeah,
we took a look and then we're like, okay, what are we missing? Are we missing someone from Africa? Are we missing someone from Latin America? So we've been then took a look and decided where we needed to make a call further than the open call. And so then we reached out to some women and said, hey, we know that you're from here, that you're from this part of the country or whatever. We'd love for you to be a part of this project. So, but we didn't actually have to do that a lot. It was probably maybe less than 10 because 90% had already signed up. So
okay.
it was a really spontaneous and organic gathering of these stories.
How long does it? So it probably doesn't take that long to write it because you get information from stories from the women around the world and just collect it into one book as well.
Well, yes and no. And that's what people think. When you have a compilation, it's probably all you just put the stories together, but
Yeah.
it's not that easy. And this is how we did it.
Okay.
So we had decided on 12 chapters,
Yeah.
and named the chapters and gave the abstracts of the chapters. So the women that signed up, we said, hey, you choose, look at the chapters and you choose which chapter you think you're going to contribute to, right? And so we gave
Yeah.
them time to go and contribute. And what's interesting is when we get that content back, the stories are so different. When they see, like, there's one we talked about, resilience.
Yeah.
Resilience means so many different things to so many different people, right? Resilience is something that to them in their own story, it means something different. So it was very interesting to get that work back and see their own experiences under the umbrella of resilience, and then being able to plug that into the themes of the book themselves. So there was a lot work done to be able to blend those stories that would feel that they naturally fit into the themes of each of the chapters. And that's the magic. That's actually something I had never done before as a writer. So I developed a new skill set this time around because I had never, but it was fascinating. When I read these stories, I even changed some of the titles of the chapters based on the stories I read, because sometimes as an author, you think you have an idea, but the content kind of comes alive by itself. And
Yeah.
voice, the book has a voice. And I realized, I was like, wow, these stories are going somewhere. And we gave ourselves the flexibility to change some chapters names or the beginning of the chapters to make sure we blended the stories and we honored each of the stories.
So would you say those are lots of your challenges when you come to pull it together and then put all the story together and change the title as well? Is that the main
Yeah.
challenges that you had to overcome?
Yes. Yeah. So I would say there was challenges. The challenges really were around for me, and for I imagine for Izzy. It's when you think about what we had envisioned together as a big project,
Yeah.
bringing the stories individually, honoring those stories, and in a way that doesn't feel boring, because here's the story again, here's the story again, here's the story again. So we crafted the book in a way that each chapter shows up each of the women in a light that is not always the same. It's not like saying, oh, and here's the story of Miri, and here's the story of Miri again. And it was just like each chapter blends it in. So there was a lot of content strategy to make the stories shine each within their chapters in a way that honored them, but also didn't feel monotonous in a way for the readers. So
Okay. So what do you plan to, because I saw a few days ago you've been like highlighting some of the women that's on the book
yes,
as well on LinkedIn to give them more
yes.
spotlight. So is that one of your highlights of the book itself? Just the
Yes.
women that come forward to tell their stories, different parts of the world in Microsoft.
Absolutely. So what we're doing is we started to chapter by chapter, we started to
Yeah,
highlight each of the 50 women. So every day, I do one, Izzy does one, and we kind of give a little teaser about what the story is about, their personal stories that they're sharing.
Yeah.
What we're also going to do is there was a lot of content that we were supposed to submit. I believe it was 60,000 words. We had over 75, almost 80,000 words together. So we had to cut down a lot. and so what we wanted to do is continue to honor those stories and the untold parts of the book that we could plug in. And so what we're planning to do is actually have a podcast series to bring the women in and talk about the pieces of content that didn't make the book, but we want them to tell about that story. So we do want to honor them in the best way we can. These stories are not just stories; they're wisdom. They have to show wisdom, and each chapter has two parts at the end. It has a kind of an inspiration for the journey, like what is the life lesson in this, but also we have practical advice for women about being confident, about career and journey, about biases and challenges as a woman. I mean, so each chapter is women readers are going to walk out with this idea that somebody went through something that looks like something that I went through, and how did they manage it, and how can I manage it? So it's going to be very practical advice as well.
Okay, yeah. So those are like highlighting some advice for young women that want to come forward later on to tell the stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's next after the book? Is it the videos that you mentioned?
So the book comes out in August, and so what we're doing is we're gonna kick off a PR campaign, and hopefully also a book tour, city book tour. And because we have so many women around the world, what we would like to have is one reading day where every woman who's been part of this goes to a local library and does a reading of the part of the book. So in one day, all of us across the world are going to be gathered somewhere reading our parts of the book. And it's going to be so powerful. And then, of course, I travel a lot, so I'm hopefully going to kick off a fall tour right after the book comes out, which is in August. So book comes out in August, we'll do a book tour, and we'll do that one moment where all the women are going to rally around basically the launch of the book. So we're excited, and the women are so excited. We actually had one of the women who is the co-chair of the women at Microsoft ERG. So she's actually promoting the book in the ERG, and we're really excited about how this is going to be empowering, inspiring many women, not just at Microsoft and in the industry, right, in the tech industry. So we're excited.
So have you considered like asking women that take part in the stories to go to the library to do book signing?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. So in the book tour, hopefully we can do some signing. I'll be announcing the cities that I'll be in, and then people can come and we can definitely sign the books. So.
Okay, so take it that's happening in 3 months, right? That book tour. Yeah. So what advice would you offer young women that's trying to go into tech or have amazing like stories?
Yeah, so I get approached by a lot of young professionals, rising professionals, and most of the questions they ask is about confidence. It's like, Miri, how can I show up confident? I do so well in every other aspect, and I feel that I can't come forward and show up as confident as I want to. And I find that very interesting because the first chapter of the book talks about what we call code and confidence, and it's how the Microsoft women built that for themselves. How there's a platform that you have to build to become confident. Confidence, it comes from two factors. There's one that is internal, and there's one that is external. It's your environment. And so if you're working internally to become confident, but you also have to make sure that your environment around you, that you build an environment around you that enables confidence for yourself. And a lot of times we don't think about that. We don't have a shield. We don't have a protection. We're not intentional about these things that are our environment around us that affect our confidence, 50% of it. And so I talk about that, and I talk about basically a framework that I developed for myself that I called Learn, Like, Love. Learn yourself, then like yourself, and then love yourself. Something that I went through personally. And so I give the women advice to say, confidence is something that you build with a lot of intention, and it comes from an internal and external environment. So you have to create both environments for yourself. You have to procure that. You have to make sure that There's people rallying around you, people that love you. Not everyone wants to see you succeed. So there's a lot of competition. And so you have to be aware of where you step in and how you show up. I tell women all the time, delete and block are your best friends on social media. If somebody's showing up and giving you negativity, delete and block them. That's part of your confidence. Delete and block them. You don't need them in your life, right? So just develop that attitude of protection of yourself and your energy. Protect that energy because not everybody wants to see you succeed. So
Yeah, I normally tell people that ask me, it's like block negativity and
yes,
only just be honest with yourself, to be true to yourself, and then
that's
that's
it.
it.
That's it. Absolutely.
Okay. So do you have any last minute advice or recommendation for any other women that want to come forward?
Yes,
Or-
absolutely. So first of all, read the book. I hope that you will
Yeah.
enjoy it. We took a lot of time to carefully curate and craft stories that matter, that I know are relevant to a lot of women, not just in the tech industry, but in the world. So I hope you enjoy the book, and we have a lot of practical advice for you there. Second, if you don't know your story yet, if you don't know what your story is about, craft it, write it, put it together, create your own story, and then that gives you the confidence to talk to other people about it. That is your why. Why are you here? Why do you want to do it? Give yourself a mission in order to go out to the world. Don't just have aspirations and dreams, but give yourself a mission. I'm here to do this. This is what I'm going to do. My brand is about this. My vision is about this. Sorry, there's
Yeah.
there's noise in the
No
back.
worries.
And so it's all about how you present yourself in the world, for the world, and why. What is your why? And so think about those things. It's important because when you step out with those, the world is yours in a different way.
Yeah, it's like creating the stories of yourself to see who do want to see you and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
so I'm curious though, how long does it take you to put this book together? Do you have different
Ah,
versions of the book and then you have to just keep taking a few months to draft it up?
So,
So,
it's interesting. As a writer, when I focus on the book, it already comes to me, the whole thing, chapter by
yeah.
chapter. So I don't have to go back. I actually don't go back much. In
Okay.
this particular book, the publisher, which is Wiley, it was a different way to manage the publishing, because normally I was used to sending content and then they have the editor review the content, give you feedback and whatever.
Yeah.
This time they said, no, we just want the full manuscript already. Just hand us the manuscript. So I was like, okay. So we worked on the manuscript. Izzy and we wrote, I wrote 6 chapters. She wrote 6 chapters. We put them
Yeah.
together, and then we handed over the manuscript. And it was really fascinating because when we got the edits back, it was almost nothing. It was little grammar things here and there, but the content itself was good. And so it's our first draft that got published. So we're really excited because it means that the stories are really, really good. So
Yeah, it's probably quite powerful as well when people have those stories.
yes,
Okay, so thank you for joining this episode, Maria.
thank
So
you.
we hopefully this will allow the viewers to know more about the book and purchase it because it's now available on Amazon, I check, and O'Reilly
Yes,
as well.
Wiley on Wiley,
O'Reilly.
Wiley.com. It's really online anywhere. So you can look at Barnes and Noble, different bookstores as well, Amazon, of course. But if you go to Wiley Publisher or Wiley.com,
Yeah,
WILY, that's our publishing house. Anywhere outside of that, you could just actually Google Women of Microsoft book and
yeah.
you can buy it. Yes.
Okay,
Pre-order.
so yeah. Aside from work, Miri, do you have any hobbies? What you do in your spare time?
Yes,
Or
well, I love to read, obviously, as a
yeah,
writer. So I have a stack of books that I enjoy, but I enjoy to read in different fun places, parks, beaches. I love
okay,
nature. So part of my reading environment and I also do yoga. So my hobby is to spend time in nature. We are nature. So reconnecting myself, grounding
okay.
myself. And
So
so
you're like hiking and those things, like
hiking,
okay,
yes, I love all of that. And of course, I love to take a yoga class and
yeah.
Pilates. So all those things really energize me.
Okay, that's brilliant. Do you have any events that you're going on? Any more AI tours coming up or any
So
other
I'm going to be
things
at the
that you use?
M365. I'll be speaking at the M365 conference in Vegas in May.
Okay.
And I'll actually be delivering a session entitled How to Train Your AI to Build Your Personal Brand. So it's going to be basically around prompting to build your brand. So we actually have some tickets if you're available, if you want to see me in Vegas. It'll be fun.
That's brilliant. I'm curious to ask whether there's any AI stories in your book
Yeah, we
women.
talk about it. We talk about it for sure. We definitely touch on AI a lot in the
Okay.
future of that for sure.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. Yeah, thanks for joining this episode, Brittany. So
Thank you for
thanks.
having me.
Yeah, no worries. Bye.